Hey YouTube, Nickel and Diamond It here. We're going to do a little bit of a project today. We're going to demonstrate as well as we can the process of installing the NB wheel specifically out of a Mazda Speed Miata, because perforated leather is the N, and this is about the right size for my hand rather than the stock and lame NA wheel that we have factory in the NA. And we'll document as much of the process as we can here. First step is going to be to disconnect the battery. So go ahead and pull off the negative terminal, which is in the trunk. If you hadn't figured that out by now, you need to come up to speed on your Mazda-ness. So we'll go to the next step, which will be removing the bolt. Try and see if I can get a good angle here. Up under here, there's 4 bolts in these holes, or nuts probably. Yeah, nuts. They're probably going to be about 10 millimeter. You're going to have to pull out, and we will take those off and document the next step. Alright, behind door number 1, what do we find? Once the bolts are off and the nuts are off, which they are 10 millimeter by the way, bang! Just kidding. Alright, so see a bunch of writing that you can't understand. A couple connectors. You just want to make sure that you can disconnect these in a civil way without breaking things. You just grab these pull tabs and disconnect them, but you kind of need 2 hands to do this. Then we want to make sure before we do the next step, before we actually take the wheel off, we want to make sure that our steering wheel is straight and make sure that our tires are pointing forward so that we know we're in the right position when we go to reclock our wheel, because later that's going to be really important. You don't want to be driving down the road with your steering wheel going like this, otherwise you're going to feel pretty dumb. So we'll disconnect these connectors and unscrew. No, those horn buttons, I don't think we have to unscrew. I think the only thing we're going to have to do is, since the horn wires here, just looking at this for the first time, the horn wires are all grounded to the metal strap and run through this one connector, which is the one that we're going to have to come up with a new way to connect the horn wire, which will be this green with red wire right here. We'll do that on the NB wheel when we get to that step. Here we've taken the nut off, the center nut, and that was a 13/16. You'll want to do 1/2-inch drive type ratchet on that, because it's on there with some pretty good torque. And then by just sort of hitting the wheel on the sides and then giving it a firm tug, you can take it off. I pre-loosened it so it's not actually normally this way, but we're also going to look at 2 fundamental things here, the most important of which is these 2 points right here on the clock spring are what keep it centered relative to the steering wheel. And the back, as you'll see here, the back of the wheel there has 2 points for the points of the clock spring. Now, one of the biggest concerns that people have is how to deal with this issue, and what I am intending to do is literally just drill 2 holes for the clock springs. We have a practical kitty out here to help today, I see. what we're going to try to do is take the NB wheel and make 2 holes at the same distance, sort of above and below the holes where it'll attach. And in theory, when we put it on, it will work. Sorry, we have construction going on right now, so it's pretty entertaining. So in theory, when we suck it down, what it will do is it will allow us, I want to move this over one, there we go, something like that. In theory, once we've got that on, it will allow us to use the clock spring. That way when we use our turn signals, it will disengage when we turn straight again. With the 2 holes drilled, you will be able to line them up with the clock spring, and what you want to do is send your connector body through the hole like that. Hard to do this one-handed. I need a cameraman. You want to not turn the actual bolt itself, but get the steering wheel as close to level as you can so that you're not just totally off. And this guy will align automatically with the clock spring when it's all the way down, like that. Now you will have the steering wheel fully aligned with your clock spring. All you have to do is wire together your horn wire, which is this one and this connector, and then I think to do that I'm actually going to desert it from this connector. Same thing with this one. I'm going to physically pull out their inserts, put the inserts back in the connector, put the connector somewhere safe. But that's the general idea. So I'll work on wiring up the horn and then connect to the next step. With a small screwdriver, you can desert this piece by grabbing a hold of a little lip at the very bottom of this. I don't know if you'll be able to see that on camera or not. There's a little lip. You can grab a hold of that on a screwdriver and push it all the way up. And then there's a little tab holding in the connector wire, which you can desert, hook to your NB horn connector. And for the moment, I'm not going to connect the airbag. I want to make sure that the impedance is correct, so I'll do some measurements and let you guys know. And our nut, as you can see, is torqued back down. We're good and stable. Not going anywhere. The horn is reconnected. What you do not want to do is this horn makes contact right here by the plate pushing backward against the springs, so it makes contact here, and then that allows your horn to go. You do not want the back of your contact to hit the lower portion. Trying to ignore the diesel noise in the background with all the construction. What you do not want to do is have the connector itself touch down back here on the actual frame of the steering wheel. So what you want to do is kind of tuck the connector down like this, that side down toward the front. That way you've still got range of motion. It's not going to impede it. This guy I'm going to just tuck back up under here, however I can make it work. Try and keep from impeding the horn in case, you know, some jackwagon tries to hit you. And now, basically, until the next step, when I do the research, what we're going to do is install the airbag, which is just 2 holes right here on either side, where the airbag threads in, and then we'll be done. With the airbag reinstalled, this is kind of what it looks like. This is not the original airbag to this steering wheel. It's another Mazda airbag. That's another reason I want to do a little more research before I connect it. terms of safety as far as the wheel coming off, we're not going to have that component. So we will move along to the conclusion.